Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely pumped you're hanging out with us today because, well, we are about to completely dismantle and honestly rewire a concept that holds literally almost all of us back at some point. I'm talking about failure. You know, we spend so much of our time terrified of making a mistake, right? Terrified of looking foolish, terrified of taking a real risk. But think about this. What if the very thing we are running away from is the exact mechanism we need to reach our highest potential? Today, we're going to dive deep into the incredibly profound motivational philosophies of Denzel Washington, along with some seriously brilliant insights from Matthew McConaughey. We're going to figure out the true alchemy of failure. Okay, let's dive right into this with a quote. It's one Denzel Washington frequently uses to lay the groundwork for his whole philosophy. It's actually from Nelson Mandela, and he said, "There is no passion to be found playing small, in settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living." Denzel uses this to point out this really fundamental, kind of uncomfortable truth about human nature. We're constantly encouraged to play it safe, but playing small, it fundamentally robs you of passion. Like, if you're settling, you are actively choosing to live a life that is way smaller than your actual capabilities. Which, brings us to a really tough question. And I want you to ask yourself this honestly, right now. Do you have the guts to fail? Denzel is notoriously direct about this stuff. He basically says, look, if you don't fail, you aren't even trying, period. To get something you've never had, you got to do something you've never done, right? And stepping into that unknown, yeah, that requires the courage to completely, 100% fall flat on your face. So, Section 1, the inevitability of failure. Because before we can reframe failure, we've got to accept it as a guaranteed part of the process. Just think about the sheer scale of this number for a second. 2,600. That is the exact number of times baseball legend Reggie Jackson struck out during his career. It's actually the most strikeouts in the entire history of baseball. But Denzel reminds us of a really crucial reality here. You don't hear about the strikeouts. People only remember the home runs. Reggie Jackson is a total legend not because he never failed, but because he was literally willing to fail 2,600 times to get the hits that actually mattered. And we see the exact same concept over in a totally different field, like science. 1,000. That's the number of failed experiments Thomas Edison conducted. Did you know that? Most people don't. Because, let's face it, history only cares about the 1,001st attempt. The light bulb. Every single failed experiment was really just one step closer to that massive success. All right, moving into Section 2, how to fall forward. Let's look at how Denzel Washington actually navigates these inevitable roadblocks. For generations, graduating students have basically been handed the exact same piece of advice. Make sure you have something to fall back on. Well, Denzel actively rejects that whole concept. He's like, if I'm going to fall, I do not want to fall back on anything. I want to fall forward. Why? Because, at least this way, you're actually going to see what you're going to hit. Falling forward means you're keeping your momentum going, your eyes are wide open, and you're learning from the collision, rather than just scurrying back to some safe, comfortable backup plan. And this isn't just some abstract theory for Denzel. This is his actual real-life story. I mean, he did not have a straight path at all. He started college just bouncing wildly between pre-med, pre-law, and journalism. By the time he was 20, he had a 1.8 GPA, and the university politely suggested he, take some time off, which is a really nice way of saying he was flunking out. He was at his absolute lowest point. Later on, early in his acting career, he auditioned for a Broadway musical at the Court Theater. It seemed like the perfect role, except for one tiny problem. He couldn't sing, so he completely tanked the audition. But here's the thing. He didn't quit. He walked out, prayed, prepped for the next audition, and just kept falling forward. And get this. 30 years later, he won a Tony Award for a play called Fences on Broadway, standing inside the exact same Court Theater where he totally failed decades prior. How crazy is that? So that brings us to Section 3, Ghosts of Unfulfilled Potential. We know the pain of failure is temporary, but what is the ultimate final cost of not taking those risks? Denzel paints this incredibly visceral, honestly kind of haunting picture here. I want you to imagine you're on your deathbed, and standing around your bed are the ghosts representing your unfulfilled potential. These are the ghosts of the ideas you never acted on, the talents you just didn't use because you were scared. And they're standing there, angry, disappointed, upset. They look right at you and say, "We came to you because you could have brought us to life, and now we have to go to the grave together." Wow. That is the true cost of a safe life. So you really have to ask yourself today, how many ghosts are going to be standing around your bed when your time comes? Matthew McConaughey echoes the sentiment absolutely perfectly. He warns against the real danger of over-leveraging decisions and just, dipping a toe in to see if something works. He says if you half-ass something, you just don't know whether you actually failed or succeeded. It's going to keep you up at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering, man, what if I just would've? You have to dive in. You got to finish it. If you go all the way, you can look in the mirror and confidently say, I found out and that ain't for me, or you're damn right that is for me. Either way, you avoid creating another one of those ghosts.
Moving on to Section 4, alchemizing the bad times. When you do take that leap and it ends in a massive failure, how do you actually process that pain without letting it totally destroy you?
Well, McConaughey offers this brilliant, super stark 3-step protocol for this. Step 1, own them. You just have to admit you got yourself into the pickle. Step 2, make amends. Fix what you broke. And step 3, turn the page. You are the author of the book of your life, right? So get off the ride of self-pity. As he points out, guilt and regret kill many a person way before their time. Life is this ironic tragedy that has to be lived forward, but really only makes sense in reverse. When you finally look back, you'll see that what you thought was the bitter end was actually just the beginning of the next great thing. And this builds into an entirely different approach to reflection. Like, we all know how to introspect when we hit rock bottom, sure. But McConaughey suggests there's a literal science to satisfaction if we actually take the time to deconstruct our success, too. When things are going well, bottle it up. Notice your consistencies. Ask yourself, are you appreciating more? Are you pointing out beautiful things? Are you refusing to take things for granted? If we document our wins, we're basically building a roadmap to find our way back when we inevitably fail again down the road.
All right, Section 5, the immortal finish line. Let's tie this whole thing together and see how shifting our view of the end actually prevents us from choking under pressure.
So McConaughey tells this super famous story about someone asking him who his hero was back when he was 15 years old. He thought about it for a second and said, it's me in 10 years. Fast forward 10 years later, he's 25, and that same person asks, so are you your hero now? And he immediately replied, not even close. My hero is me at 35. The point here is he is never going to actually attain it. And that's exactly the point. It gives him somebody to keep on chasing forever. And this is the absolute core concept of the immortal finish line. You see, we choke in life. We fumble at the goal line. We freeze on the big exam because we create these fictitious ceilings for ourselves. We think a moment is too big, or maybe we subconsciously think we don't deserve the joy we're experiencing. We take ourselves out of the process, and we start watching ourselves on the proverbial jumbotron. But if your reach continually exceeds your grasp, you have an immortal finish line. The approach itself literally becomes the destination. You never freeze because you're always just on the way. Which leaves us with this final echoing question from Denzel Washington to wrap things up. What are you going to do with what you have? And look, he isn't talking about how much money is in your bank account. Whether your gift is business, theology, nursing, patience, kindness, or maybe simply the ability to endure long suffering. Whatever your unique gift is, the world desperately needs it. Taking a risk isn't just about getting a better job. It's about being open to people, open to ideas, and to the faith that defines you. So I'll leave you with this. Are you going to cling to safety and let those ghosts of your potential gather around your bed? Or are you going to lay every ounce of your unique gifts on the line and bravely fall forward?